Guys, welcome to the Eric T Conversation. I'm Eric T. Joined my guest and friend, Ben Hogan, out of California. He works for a couple of rehab centers right now. Right now, he works for the Unified Wellness Center, and then also for the Clear Life Recovery Centers in California, dealing with addiction and rehabilitation, all kinds of addiction. Ben, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Eric. Good to see you, man.
Good. You too, man. You too. It's been a long time. Well, the reason why I want to bring you on is because, nowadays you get a lot of stuff going on with, the cartels are big in the news right now with the Trump administration. You've got the boats getting blown up in the water. You've got people like Nick Shirley out there in California exposing all of the homelessness and the drugs that are out in those areas. And I figured you're the guy to talk to about all that. So, everybody that gets into a recovery occupation usually has a story of their own. So I'm sure you have a story of your own and how you want to come in full circle to the point where you're actually helping people with addiction and getting back on their feet. So tell us a little bit about your story and how you ended up where you're at.
Well, I would say the job I have is very fulfilling, and it does give me purpose. I love what I do. I never would have chose the job. I mean, I do think it's insane. I first was self-employed at the age of 22 with my cousin Jared. We started off a carpet cleaning business. Through the years, I had a mortgage company at one point. I did some subcontracting for construction work in Florida. And through all those years, we moved every single year. I never finished one school until high school. My parents made a deal with me. Once I got to high school, I could finish all 3 years. So I didn't finish one school year at one school until Satellite High. And you and I graduated together.
Yep.
And we kept moving back to Florida. We were always going back to Florida. And it taught me a lot because I could move. As far as business, I could do things that I needed to do. But I also learned how to get into all the fast lane, the drugs and the alcohol. And so by the time I was 32, I had heart surgery.
Wow.
And they told me I was going to die. And about 2 hours went by and they said, "We made a mistake. We can fix you." And
okay,
I remember
that's good to know.
I remember signing the clipboard and I was like, okay, let's go. And by the time I was 38, when you have heart surgery, they'll give you about whatever you want. And I was working in construction at that time. I was climbing ladders in Florida. That was during the construction boom in Palm Bay. I was doing gutters and soffit. It was really good work.
Hey, Ben, try to keep centered in the screen there. Try to stay centered in the screen there.
Okay. And so by the time I was 38, I had about nothing. I was completely busted, completely broken, mentally, physically, and I had to go to rehab. I didn't have insurance. I didn't have resources. And so I ended up at not a private facility, but someone who took me in. And while I was there, they hired me. My first job in rehab was a cook. I made $10 an hour. And as far as, being a cook is a great job because, I needed protein.
Yeah, free food.
I need to put some muscle back on. And so, but I had never really paid attention to the clinical side. And so I got in the clinical side and hugged the cactus, made friends with it. I looked at all the dark stuff. For me, it's all mental health. There's always something, underlying. The drugs and the alcohol are kind of an answer to a problem. And I was always masking something. I needed something to make me feel good and to make the other bad things go away. And so once I got past the physical part and the detox, which was really, really tough, man, that was very, very hard on me. I got in the clinical side.
When you're going through that, did you have any support with you, or were you doing it on your own through the rehab?
I did it I had to go to the treatment center. I couldn't do it on my own.
No, but did you have any family? Any family was helping you support, like any support from the family or friends or anybody like that was around you trying to, push you through and say, "Come on, man, you can get this done"?
There was people that would take my calls, but my mother kind of said to me, "I love you, but I accept your decision. I'm not abandoning you. I love you, but you've got to figure this out because She said she's watching her son kill himself, and there's nothing you could do. I mean, give me money or buy me food. That just freed up money for me to do more drugs.
Right.
So she was there, but I didn't see her for over 10 years. And my father was kind of the same. They were like, figure it out. Now that I look back in hindsight, it was what I needed. I didn't understand it at the time. I wouldn't say it was tough love, but it was in a way. Until I had consequences, I didn't realize that I had a problem. And when my mother stopped talking to me, I realized I wasn't a tough guy. I was a mama's boy, and so I embraced that. While I was there at that treatment center, became a tech, started doing some groups. I actually met my wife there, and we have a beautiful daughter that's 9 years old. She's the co-founder of the rehab that we own together now. And so I became an interventionist. I traveled around the country. I met a lot of people, and we were able to save some money. And in 2016, we opened up Clear Life Recovery, and that's still doing well. My first house is still there. And then in 2021, I saw what was going on with the first responders. My dad was Army. Her dad was Army. My mother also married. I don't know if you remember Clyde. He did some contracting for the military. And so I saw what was going on with the first responders, and I've always had a special place for them. I always support them the best I can. And so in 2021, we opened Unified Wellness Center, and it's exclusive for first responders and veterans.
Oh, that's great. So when you were going through your recovery, what did you find that was the hardest thing for you to deal with going through that? Like relapse? Was that relapsing the biggest problem that you had, or not having people like, your mom says, hey, listen, man, this is life you chose. I can't deal with this anymore. It's, like all parents, they're like, they give you to a certain point and they're just like, look, I love you, but I can't have you around me all the time because this is probably breaking her heart as well, I would imagine. So when you're going through that, what was the toughest part you saw trying to get through all that?
As I look back now, I realize I hurt the people that I love the most. But I didn't realize that then. I was in so much pain. You're so self-centered at that point, but your body, you have to have those drugs and alcohol. You've got to have that stuff. It like hacks the system. And
does it change your brain? Is it rewire your brain, right?
Oh yeah, it dictates that. What I learned from the clinical side, there's a holistic approach, and there's 3 parts to a human: the physical, emotional, and spiritual, right? Well, which dog wins that fight? The one you feed, right? So I fed the physical. Every 3 or 4 hours, I had to have it. I couldn't sleep. I had to have something. So the emotional and spiritual side, which is the mental health, that had to wait. And so I didn't use that. So by the time I got physically sober, I was probably early 20s mentally, if that, being generous, maybe 14. So it was very quiet. The whole world went quiet. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I was ashamed. I was embarrassed. It was very quiet. It was very, very lonely and very isolating. And by going to rehab, I was able to find some people. I went to 12 steps. I got a fellowship. I went back to church. I met some good guys that were struggling through what I was going through, and we built from there.
So when you were you in Florida when you went to rehab, or was it when you were in California? Because how'd you get to California?
So the first place I went in when I was 38, I was in Port Charlotte in Florida. I was 38. And when I worked at the rehab there, I got hired at a place in Michigan, and I worked in admissions up there for a big facility. And then I got hired as an interventionist in Indiana. In Indiana, I was born in Indiana. All my family's there. My oldest daughter was there. And so it was close to family. So it was, I say it was a God thing. The universe kind of worked it out for me. So I was back home, close to family. I was a Hoosier by birth, so it made sense. Then I met a guy who owned a rehab, and we were doing some marketing for them. And he said, hey, come out and help me. And so in 2014, I packed up my U-Haul. I put my little Chihuahua in a cage, and my wife and I drove out there like the Beverly Hillbillies and went for it.
So right now you see all the, I don't know if you've seen some of the stuff that Nick Shirley did, that guy from the kid on the YouTube channels that doing all that.
Amazing.
I'm watching that stuff in California. It's, San Francisco, and they're handing out needles, stuff to help these addicts grow, continue doing their addiction without really getting them any help. What is that about that you see in California? Do you agree with that? Is that a problem for you guys that are trying to get people off that stuff, that they're like, hey, listen, you can get a little bag of goodies and, you can just keep on trucking?
Yeah, I saw they had a vending machine, like you're saying, bag of goodies. There's vending machines in New York where you can get those things. I mean, it's a Band-Aid approach, I guess. For me, it's someone that doesn't understand the whole nature. Some people would say to me, hey, Ben, just stop, right? And my mom would say, just stop. It's like, oh, I hadn't thought of that. I didn't have the ability. My addiction, some people can stop. We say there's 3 types. The first type can stop when they want, like my mom. The second type, probably a guy like you. Something happens or somebody says stop and you can. But for me, no matter what, I was unable to stop. So I guess if the person is reserved to doing those things forever, sure, give them some clean needles, maybe. I don't know. I know when I go to 7-Eleven or something, and I learned this in 12 steps too. If someone needs a drink or something, I still buy it for them, dude.
Yeah.
They need cigarettes or booze, and they're outside on the street and it makes their life better,
There's no old addicts though. There's no old addicts, right?
No, sir. No.
So what's the biggest drug that you're seeing right now on the street that people are coming to use to see you for?
Well, the biggest problem out there is fentanyl, and that's the boat's blowing up, like you mentioned. That I got out right before fentanyl. I did fentanyl one time, and the only reason I didn't die and the reason I didn't call the ambulance is because I was young. I was probably 34, 35, right when fentanyl started coming out, and I was close to death, but I was young and in shape, and I was like, do not call the ambulance. I probably should have. Like, if it was today, I'd either be dead or call the ambulance. So fentanyl is the scariest one, but we deal with, I see a lot of alcohol, a lot of pain pills, benzos. It's all across the board. We also deal with process addictions too, though, because for me, it's all mental health. People will call and say, oh, Ben, I don't have a drug addiction, but process addictions can be codependent relationships, gambling, shopping, sex, things like that. So it's all mental health for me.
So when you go try to help somebody, do you try to find the underlying issue with their mental health, something that's, something jacked up with their life somewhere along the line that kind of like, okay, they're like, wow, I never really thought about that. I didn't realize that was really my problem to begin with. Is that how you focus on it?
Absolutely. Once you get the body physically stabilized, then you can get to the other side. So like, let's say you come in for detox and it takes 7 days. You can just hang out at the house. The house is beautiful. It's got a pool, sauna. We have a chef, cold plunge. Do everything you can to get that body moving. I have a gym on site. We have boxing class on Saturday. We bring in breathworks. Our breathworks guy is actually the guy that played Hobie on Baywatch, Jeremy Jackson.
Okay.
Yeah, he comes in and does breathworks. He's really embraced the lifestyle recovery. And once they get past the physical part, let's say the first responders, a lot of those suffer with PTSD. We have to get to the underlying issues. The drugs and the alcohol aren't the problem. They're an answer to a problem. So the clinical, once your body is physically stabilized, clinical can go in and figure out what that underlying issue is. For me, it was some childhood stuff. A lot of guys have childhood stuff, whether it's abandonment or parent issues, but it's usually one core issue, in my experience. And then you learn either coping skills, life skills, a way to deal with it.
It affects everybody. It affects everybody, right? So, I mean, you're, white, blonde hair, blue-eyed kid with a body full of muscles, played football, surfed, and all of a sudden, got you too. So it really doesn't matter where you come from. It just, it gets everybody, anybody. No one's immune to getting some form of addiction somewhere along the lines if they're not careful.
I've done interventions on every walk of life, from police to I did a guy that worked for the DOD on rocket. He had top secret clearance. Farmers, mailmen, scientists, doctors. I did an intervention on an eye doctor in his office, and he couldn't even stand up. He was so drunk.
How does the intervention work? You see that stuff on TV, right? They put the people, their families around their little circle. The dude walks in, he was not expecting the whole family to be there, and then they're surprised. Is that a typical intervention, or are there different ways to intervene with somebody who has an addiction?
Our model is we meet with the family the day before. Okay, so we don't tell you. So if I was intervening on you, it'd be a secret. You wouldn't know. I would want the people that love you the most, the people that knew you before, because everything bows to love. And addiction is an emotional operating basis. What's the most powerful emotion? Love, right? So I want everyone in there that I can focus in on your heart. I can focus in on your heart. So I meet with the family the day before, and we educate. We have a little workbook. We educate on 3 topics: enabling, healthy boundaries, and manipulations. I teach them the language of an addict. I teach them the limitations. I teach them how to increase their willingness, how to guide their decisions, because all their decisions are based on comfort.
Right.
They can only go so far. And so if we can do that, we can guide that, we can increase their willingness. So now they're taking part and they're thinking it's their decision. So that usually takes 2, 3, 4 hours. We go through the workbook, we identify, we stick together as a team. Now that team makes decisions for the next year under our guidance.
Okay.
Right. And as far as my position as an interventionist, I'm not emotionally attached. I can look at something and say, man, Eric's full of it. Right. He's manipulating you. He's using you.
I bet you that happens a lot. I'm sure that happens quite a bit.
Yeah.
They think they're smarter than everybody else.
Absolutely. And they're manipulating the family, but it doesn't work on the outside. It doesn't work at court. It doesn't work at their jobs. How is it working on your family? So day one is the workshop or family day. That's the most important part. Then the intervention usually is no more than 2 hours. Usually the statistics are about 60 to 70% go within the first hour or two. The other 15 to 20% go within a week. And then the only 5 to 10% that don't go are 55 and older and don't have resources.
Okay.
Or I'm sorry, they do have resources. If you're over 55 and you have money, that's a tough one to crack.
Okay. So when they go to the intervention, then from there, when you have the intervention with them and the family and friends or whoever it might be, what is the amount of people that actually like, you know what? You're right. I'm all jacked up. Let's do this. Or do you get a lot of them like, you know what? I don't need this. I can handle this. I can stop whenever I feel like it.
Well, if it's done properly, we write down all the objections, all the things. I would say, Eric, if it was your brother or someone that you knew, I would say, you tell me everything he's going to say and you're going to know. So we're going to write all those down and we're going to have answers for those. We're going to overcome those objections to make it comfortable because they make decisions based on comfort. How can I change their universe to make their decision making to where treatment is now the most comfortable option? So we just move the pieces around to where their lifestyle is now more uncomfortable.
Okay.
Because for some reason they're continuing their lifestyle, even though it's uncomfortable and crazy to me and you. There's a reason there. There's some sort of enabling going on. There's somebody that's sponsoring that, that's making that comfortable for them. So addicts don't want to be uncomfortable. So how can I make a situation to where their lifestyle is now uncomfortable and treatment is comfortable? Now they'll make the decision on their own. So if it's done properly, and in the intervention, I don't have the families talk. They read letters. The only one that talks is the interventionist. They read the letters. It says, Eric, man, when we were kids, you stuck up for me. When the kids were trying to beat me up, you looked out for me. You were the best big brother in the world.
Right.
Last week, I had to break into your apartment and find you half dead. You said you would get better. You haven't. Please accept this gift. I want my brother back. Love, Ben. And that's how the letter writing goes. And I'll usually have the last person to read the letter is the most impactful. For me, if it was an intervention, my mother would have read last because she has the most emotional leverage.
Okay. The person that has probably the biggest bond or the most influence on the person, they go last. Is that how you look at it?
That's the way I've always done it. I want everyone in that room that loves. So if I can get 3, 4, 5 people that can focus in and know your heart before you did those drugs and alcohol, I got you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you talked about how, your house is awesome. You got a cold plunge, you try to get them, physical fitness. So is it all about mind, body, and all that helps people get through the recovery instead of just sitting in classes all day and talking about why they shouldn't do drugs?
Yeah, I don't focus in on the drugs. We don't talk about that. It's all mental health. Now, of course, we have to address the drugs, but when something happens, you've got to find a way to deal with it. Whether a fellowship is always something good, because isolation is one of the biggest things that tears people down. Anyone that's had struggle with addiction will tell you that they isolate. You couldn't find me. I was hidden, right? So now if I start to act weird, or I haven't been around, I have a few people that'll call me and be like, "Hey man, are you okay?" It's stick with the herd, stick with the herd theory.
So now you're working with veterans and first responders and guys like that. Obviously, I was a veteran. I served in Afghanistan, and I got a little touch of some stuff, but I never had any addiction problems that I know of. I'm sure other people could probably say I have something going on, but so you're working with these guys. What do you treat them the same way you would treat another type of another addict, or because let's say someone comes to you with PTSD, they got combat related PTSD, and either is it just for treating for addiction, or you can treat somebody with their PTSD symptoms and the struggles they're having with that, because that alone is a serious mental health issue that a lot of veterans and first responders start to suffer with. Hear about guys taking their lives all the time by firefighters, police officers. They get traumatized daily. So when you're talking with them about it, what is the type of the avenue that you use to try to get them to a point where they can deal and cope with the trauma that they've witnessed?
Well, the clinical staff really comes in. Once the drugs and alcohol, I tell them that's not your problem. Now it's killing you, so we have to get that stabilized, but it's all an underlying issue. So that's where the clinical team has to go in, identify that, find out what that PTSD is, find out what those things are. I don't want to label someone as an addict or say, "Oh, you're an addict." That's not it.
Do most of the
That's
guys
not
that come in there with PTSD have an addiction problem, or do people a lot of them do?
A lot, but we have some that come in that just have process addictions, a process addiction, shopping, gambling, sex,
Self-destructive stuff.
Yeah, anything that's not done with balance. We focus on the balance. They break down the three parts: the physical, emotional, and spiritual, right? But when you're doing something wrong, you need to feel good. You need that immediate gratification. So, I did a speech a while ago on social media and where I think that's going, because so many people need that immediate gratification. And I think that's bad. I think there's going to be some sort of withdrawal from that. So the stigma for drugs and alcohol, it does have that stigma, but for me, it's just as bad as anything else. And so a lot of our groups sorry, I keep shaking that, aren't focused on just the drugs and alcohol.
So what are the biggest things that you're finding with some of these guys that were in the military that come to see you and do that? I mean, how do people find you? I mean, is it like they Google, or are you doing outreach, or do you actually go out there and try to find veterans and people that are suffering from addiction, and what if they don't have any means? I mean, is there programs that they can get on? With California, they probably got a lot of programs. So I know they have programs that they can get into that kind of help fund and pay for some of this. Do you guys do fundraisers? I mean, how does it work for these people coming into your programs?
The answer is yes to all of it.
Okay.
We have a website, and so we do that. We also have peer support. So our peer support, we have a couple of firemen. Our whole clinical team is my program director was a Ranger. We also go to the conventions. Like I told you, I'm coming to Orlando in a couple months, so hopefully I get to see you. And there's a big convention there. There's another one in Indianapolis, and then we work with a lot of nonprofits too that help cover flights. There's a lot of people out there that have gone through this, and they've recognized how much these guys need help, how much they need training.
Right.
And so it's really becoming aware now. And so all the departments, we work with the departments. So the departments come in, they tour the facility. They want to know, two things. What are your amenities? What are the guys going to be doing here? So they're doing open water. They're doing yoga. This Sunday, we're going on a fishing trip. We go to Ducks games. We
I
want
want
to
to come
be,
hang out there, man. It sounds awesome.
yeah. The design is to be more comfortable than your regular life and with no distractions. So you can really get to those underlying or those core issues and learn how to deal with those. And so when I was with my therapist, I did all kinds of crazy stuff. I always made fun of guys that wrote in journals, but the journal helped save my life, man. I also had to write my obituary. We get into stoicism. I'm a big stoicism fan. And in stoicism, they had us write out and plan our death.
Wow.
And write our obituary. And when I was sitting there visualizing my deathbed, I wasn't sitting there worried about, oh, I should have done this, or worried more. It was about all the things that I'd missed and not focused on. So the mental health and the clinical stuff is really, really, it's cool. It was hard for me. I was just more the physical guy. Bench your way through it or go for a run. That works for a while, but the mental health is I don't know, it's the most important part.
Now, when you were younger, okay, and obviously we've known each other a long time, but when you were younger, were you around a group of guys that all had like a little bit of a problem that just made it easier to go out there and do what you got to do, getting high or whatever with people that were kind of doing the same thing you were doing?
Yeah. You find those people.
You find them, right? You just happen to find them. They always find them.
And a lot of them we lost along the way, a few of their names. And for some reason, I teach group on Thursday. So I taught group this morning, and I had to give my testimony a little bit for some of the new guys that were here. And I told them I earned death, but for some reason, and I worked hard for death, not on purpose, but I earned it. That's what I should have received. But for some reason, God saw that different.
Right.
But there's so many of them, we could go through the names, from back then. But somehow we kind of identified with each other, and we kind of knew that hurt person, and somehow we found each other, and then we started doing drugs together, and it's bad. But today I'm able to use that for good. I'm able to look at those things and say, hey, and I made friends with it. And so now I'm able to use all those things for good. So I don't want to repeat those mistakes, but.
Do you ever have an issue? Like, man, do you ever have a stressful day and you're like, man, back in the day, I could do something. I could feel pretty good right about now. Do you ever have, is that a constant occurrence with people who are addicts? Of course, you're always considered an addict, right? So what are those people that you have that stressful day and you're like, man, you just got to walk through it? Is that how it works when you have those type of days, or is it always a struggle, or as it gets better as you work on yourself?
It gets better with time. Those at first, I did heroin. I did all the bad stuff, man. And that black cloud is right here for years. That black cloud followed me around for 2-3 years. And then it'll show up every other month, right? And then every other so-and-so. And then depending on where you are spiritually and emotionally. But now by working with my therapist and taking part, and I still go to 12-step meetings. I mostly it's a bunch of guys that I like and the fellowship. But now I'm able to kind of play the tape through, and I use history to say, okay, how did this work? So I play the tape forward. Sure, I can take a couple Xanax right now and, feel pretty good, but I like what Robert Downey Jr. said. I always break out in handcuffs. I'm allergic to drugs.
Right. Yeah.
It's an allergy.
He seemed to do pretty good. He seemed to probably do pretty good later on. So
yeah, it's an allergy, man. And I look at it like that. And so now that I've been through it, I worked with a therapist that said, Ben, look at it like it's cancer. If you had cancer, what would you do? And so now I try to use a rational mind instead of emotional. So I play the tape through and I say, okay, if I do this, I'm going to end up in jail. And then I'm letting down my wife and my family. I'm able to get that back in.
Right.
But at first I had to, I stayed in sober living for 13 months. I lived in a sober living environment for 13 months.
What is that?
It's a group, it's a house where you pay rent and there's 4, 5, 6 guys that are all struggling getting sober. So there's house rules, but we all keep each other's backs. We all look out for each other, go to meetings, sign in, sign out, things like that.
Okay.
It's a structured environment.
They test you and all that as well, or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I got kicked out of a couple. I got tested, got kicked out of a couple.
Now, look, let's say you did heroin and all that. So when you do that, those kind of drugs, are you clean 100%, or do you go have a little cocktail once in a while? Or when you're an addict, you can't do anything.
Zero. For me, I choose not to do anything. Do I know people that were okay? So I was a type 3. No matter what, I couldn't stop. I don't really know any type 3s that can go out and have a cocktail and drink like a gentleman. Now, does that sound great? Does it sound cool to go drink like a gentleman? Right. I mean, sure. I watch TV and James Bond, right? It sounds cool. But I look at my history and I say, I learned a story in AA, and there was this old guy, and he told his wife, I'm going to drink tomorrow. But every time I look at my watch, it's today. So for today, I'm not going to drink. So when people ask me, hey, Ben, do you want to drink or something? I say, I'm not drinking today. I'm driving. I got to drive.
Right.
Maybe tomorrow. And, maybe when I'm 100 years old, if I'm in the house or something in the old folks home, maybe I will. But today it doesn't fit. Is that with
a lot of addicts that they're like, listen, you know how it is. A lot of people start smoking cigarettes when they have a couple of cocktails. Like I only smoke when I drink. I only do heroin when I have a couple of shots of liquor. So so you got to make sure. Do a lot of people look? Do you tell people, or is that part of your program? Say, listen, it's going to be hard to do this. It's going to be harder, probably when you have a couple of drinks. Is that something that is along those lines?
I tell everyone, give it 12 months. Give it 12 months of abstinence. People say, oh, I've been sober for 6 months. I don't want to get caught in semantics, but sober is synonymous with sanity. And let's say I was in rehab and I had been sober for 60, 70, 6 months, right? 6 months ago, I was almost dead. So was that living a sober, sane life? I wasn't really in the outside world. I didn't have a driver's license. So I tell everybody, man, give it 12 months and of absolute abstinence. And if your life was better the other way, then try that. But I can tell you, I don't ever tell people what to do. I say, this is the evidence. But for me, I'm not doing it.
So people that come to your program, what would be the percentage of people that relapse? Is it high the first time around? Does it get better? I mean, I'm sure there's people that have been for the program multiple times have come to the program. Is there any point when they're like, it's just today, now it's stuck. It's stuck. Hey, Ben, it's stuck. Finally, the third, fourth time, I finally went through the program and it stuck this time, and I am living proof that it works. Does it really work the first time around, or, some people got to do it once, twice, 4 times to get it right?
I always tell them, look at the evidence. If it was cancer, here's your treatment plan. Anybody that says they're going to do it in 30 days, all the evidence says no. So if you have cancer and your doctor says, here's your treatment plan, right? You have to go through all 4 levels. So you go through detox, residential, PHP, and IOP, and then you do some sort of sober living. So if you want something based on long-term, you need a 12-month plan. That doesn't mean you have to live at rehab for 12 months. I always suggest 30, 60, 90 days, live at rehab. Then afterwards, do either sober living, use a therapist, and then throw in some AA too along the way. But have some sort of structured program for at least 12 months where you're accountable and responsible to someone else other than you. And then after 12 months, I was able to start trusting myself again. Because once I got sober, after a couple days, or I don't know, a couple months, I put a little bit of weight back on. I got back in the weight room. My biceps started I had little triceps and biceps coming back. I'm like, dude, I'm cured. I was more dangerous than ever. My mind was more dangerous than ever. So all the long-term data and all
Why
the
is that? Why
long-term
was it more dangerous? Why was it more dangerous?
well, I hadn't used my brain, and so a lot of things that addicts say. The most dangerous part about that is that we believe what we say.
Okay.
Right? Why do I keep relapsing? Why? Oh, I can do it on my own. Right? Well, why haven't you? Why do so many people relapse? So all I try to do is help identify. I was a type 3. No matter the consequences,
So
I
what's a
can't
type 3?
stop.
Go. What are the there are different types? What's a type 3? You said it a
Well,
couple times.
we break it down to the 3 types. The first type was my mom. She could stop whenever she wanted. Type 2, let's say when you're in the military, your commanding officer or your wife, someone says, "Hey, Eric, knock it off." You knock it off, right? I'm a type 3. It doesn't matter. I can lose my house, my car, my job. I can't stop. I don't have the ability. I was a type 3. So for me, I can't, I don't entertain it. There's no reason to, but hey, tomorrow it may be different, but for today I can't. And what they teach you in recovery is we can control the day, and not to go biblical, but that's what the Bible says too. You know, the flowers and the birds have what they need, and
Right.
tomorrow will take care of itself. And once you, and 12 steps, they say one day at a time, you know, and at the beginning it was 1 second at a time, 1 minute at a time. And as you keep going, it gets better and better.
So how long have you been sober now? How many years?
I got out when I was 38 and I'm 53, but I fell apart 2 years ago in June, and I was able, and I went back to treatment. I was able to do that, thankfully. It was over money. I had gotten complacent. I had the American dream. I wasn't very wealthy, but I had everything as far as wealth you would consider,
Right.
family and comfort. I had some money, and I just got complacent, and so I was hiding. I was able to do that. I own my own company, right? Who's going to tell me what to do?
Right.
You get it. Who's going to tell you what to do?
Right. I'm unhireable
And
these days. I couldn't work for anybody right now. Like, man,
amen.
put the clock. You crazy?
Yeah, amen. And so that's a two-edged sword, though. You
Yeah.
know, and I didn't respect it. I didn't honor it. And so God needed my attention, and he bonked me on the head. And I'm at my bed, and my program director, my executive director, he was a police captain. Shout out to Captain Rob if he sees this. I was just talking to him. I look up, and I'm, you know, I'm in my bed, and he's standing there. I'm like, oh gosh, dude, where am I going? You know, and they got me on a plane and got me out of there. And they supported me. But that was the difference in this time, is that I had a fellowship. I had people that still believed in me. I hadn't burned down everything. You know, I wasn't doing heroin and things like that, but I still was doing things that were not good. So
Right.
it's just the same. You know, oh, sure, my doctor gave me the script. Well, that script's supposed to last you a month, Ben,
Right.
not 4 hours.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like, where's your script? You just picked it up. I'm like,
Ben's throwing himself down a flight of stairs.
yeah. And then that kratom, you know, because from the lifting weights and the heavy days, I had to get a new hip. Well, before that, I found kratom, and I don't know if you know too much about
No,
kratom.
I don't know. I've never heard. What is that?
Okay, so kratom is from like Thailand. It's this plant, and it has medicinal purposes, and it's been used for centuries, right? And it does help, but it also has a natural pain relief effect, and its natural sense. They use it down in Mexico and stuff. I believe that it could have good medicinal purposes, but you can get some, you know, backstreet chemist who figures out how to manipulate it. Now they sell it in the smoke shops everywhere.
Wow. Okay.
And you can buy it everywhere. You can go in 7-Eleven, smoke shops, and before you know it, that stuff got a hold of me. Now they have some stuff that should be illegal, and I don't know how it's still out there. And I know in Newport Beach, where I live, it is illegal. They outlawed kratom. I can't tell you how many people I've seen come through here detoxing off kratom. It is something else.
Now, is that was it a pill? Is it a plant, or you smoke it? How does it work?
So when I went to Thailand, they grow it. It's a plant. It's a leaf, and it's from the caffeine family. And they sell it on the side of the road over there.
So I guess it's like a stimulant. Stimulus,
Yeah,
big time.
but that's how it's supposed to be used,
Right.
right?
Okay.
Here they break it down, they alter it, they put it into pills, they press them, and it's the, if I had to compare it to a drug, it would be Oxycontin.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it grabbed a hold of me like Oxycontin did. And so, yeah, Captain Rob, my wife was upset, and so they came and they got me, and I was able to go away, and I came back, and my team supported me. I was a very honest, and here we are.
Things happen, right? Happens to the
Well,
best of
yeah,
us, you know.
you got to fix it, and I was able to fix it, and so now I want to say for sure it's helped me, and it was a gift, but you in stoicism, I don't know if you know too much about Ryan Holiday, but Ryan
No.
Holiday wrote a book called, oh God, you'd love him, especially military, dude. All my groups are on two things: the 4 agreements, it's Toltec wisdom. It's written by Don Ruiz McGill, and there's 4 agreements, and it's be impeccable with your word, always do your best, make no assumptions, and take nothing personally.
Okay.
And if you can learn those 4 principles, when a guy flips you off in traffic, you're bulletproof. And stoicism is basically.
I may need that.
I'll send you a copy. I'll send you a copy. I don't have one here, but that's what my groups are on. And then stoicism was started by Marcus Aurelius. Do you know anything about stoicism?
No.
You need to.
Okay.
We're going to talk about this later. Stoicism, Marcus Aurelius was a Roman emperor, and it's a philosophy. And it's basically about living a virtuous life. But there's 4 principles in that. It's wisdom, integrity. I don't have my notes in front of me, but those 4 principles have changed my life. So when something bad happens, I'm able to run the data, play it through my head, take a breath. And I also got into breath works and, some other things. You can slow down, you can play the tape forward and say, okay, what's my best outcome? Here's the data. How do I analyze this? And it's pretty cool. And I learned all that because all the damage I did from the drugs and alcohol. So the obstacle.
Now, do you have damage? Do you have irreparable damage from the drugs that you used?
I don't think so. I do have some scars. I have some physical stuff that's bad. I have a huge scar here on from
the surgery.
Yeah, and then this was from going through a windshield.
Oh.
Yeah, I took.
The hair still looks good, man. You still got a full head of that.
Yeah,
God bless you, man. God bless you.
Hiding that. There's a scar that goes up here.
That's why God let you keep that hair, cover that up, man. Hey guys like you, man. Hey guys like you, all freaking hair, man.
Oh, yeah.
You had it when you were 14. You still got it now.
I've been lucky. I've been lucky with the hair, dude. I've been lucky. But with stoicism, and Ryan Holiday has really championed it today. Look him up on YouTube, Instagram, and he wrote a book called The Obstacle is the Way. And I kind of tie that into The Mandalorian. Did you watch The Mandalorian?
Yeah, I watched a lot of those. A lot of the series.
This is the way.
Right.
So
okay.
The obstacle is the way. The way that we break that down is every obstacle is an opportunity. You may not see it now, but on the other side of it, you can use it for good. And so the obstacle is the way. He wrote a book about it, and I view everything that way now. Something bad happens, and if it's 4 or 5 o'clock, I say, is this something I can fix today, or is it something that has to take care of tomorrow? Okay, it's a tomorrow issue. What can I do right now? Control the controllables. And that's why I love working with the first responders so much, because their brain works that way, but they're programmed a certain way too. That's that double-edged sword. And it's like, no, we help you. Well, who helps you?
Right.
And so that's why I have to have them exclusive. I can't have them around civilians. We have what we call the civilian program, Clear Life, but they have to be completely separate.
Really?
They have to be, yeah, you can't mix them, dude. You can't mix the crowd. No.
Why is that?
Well, one of the first examples that
so you're talking about the military first responders to the people who don't have an issue with that. That's what you're referring to?
Okay, so Unified Wellness Center is strictly, that's the flags. You see our whole room in here. We call this the war room. It's the group room. This is only first responders and veterans.
Okay.
That's their peer group. They can trust each other. they have, you
Right.
have that bond, you have that brotherhood, right? I can't have civilians mixed in here. And the easiest example of that is a police officer, right? Let's say a police officer sees a civilian that he arrested,
Right. Okay.
right?
That makes
And then
sense.
you have someone in here with all this stuff that's going on, defund the police, or people that hate cops, or it just, you can't mix the crowd. And the first responders, we get a lot of feedback. They so much value being exclusive, just with guys they can trust. And then once they get out of the residential house, we have a sober living house, and our chef is a former first fireman. The assistant house manager is Boston fireman, and they just get along. They live together. They watch TV. We cook out. It's a good safe place.
Good. I asked you this a little bit yesterday. I touched on it that somebody came and got in touch with me not too long ago about surprisingly, they're severely addicted to fentanyl. And, and this person's in their early 50s. Somebody that says that, I could crack this on my own, that I've gone to rehab several times, all it is reading books and stuff like that. What would you say to somebody that says, hey, I've done it. Rehab doesn't stick. We just sit there in class all day long and I'm not really getting anything out of it. Is it the program that's not working for them? Or, are there different programs that people can use that might work more? Everybody's got a different type of personality, right? So is it somebody that a different program might work a different way? Like your program is obviously, a lot of health and wellness, opposed to maybe sitting in a class and, doing a kumbaya around a table or something like that. So somebody that says, listen, I'm going to do this on my own. Is there like a 0% chance that's going to happen from what you've experienced? Or it takes some serious willpower?
Well, I would encourage anyone, if you have cancer, right? Okay, let's look at the death rates. Addiction kills how many, right? If you had cancer, I say to this, someone that says something like that, if you had cancer, would you do it on your own?
Of course.
Why would you not?
Yeah.
Why would you not get professional help? Why? Oh, that program didn't work. Well, if that cancer treatment didn't work, you'd find another one. You would keep trying, because if there was 1,000 doors and 999 doors did not have your cure, and one door had your cure, would you knock on all 10 million doors that I told you to knock on? And if you had cancer with a rational operating basis, you would say, yeah.
Right.
So is it more about you want to get better? Do you really want to change, or do you need more time? And
now that's a good question. Do they have to come to that point where, like, man, I just, I'm ready? Is it like you see that on movies and wherever on different programs, like they got to want to get better? Is that really the step? You want to get better, or you can get people in there that may not thought they wanted to get better, but they get better regardless? Or that first step is they need to get to the point where they're like, listen, I've lost my freaking job. I've got no money. My family can't stand me. I'm almost on the street, to the point where they want to get help? Or can people get help that never really thought about getting clean in the first place?
For me, I had to get to a place of surrender, to where I lost everything, right?
Okay.
I always had the physical to where I could go. If I needed to work construction, I could. Once I lost that, without consequences, I didn't have a problem.
Okay.
Once I had consequences, right? And so many families rob their family members of consequences. Well, Ben, I got to feed them, right? Well, if you feed me, I'm going to use that money to go buy heroin. Why don't you just buy me heroin?
Right.
I'm not saying do that, but that's what you're doing. That's enabling. So basically, you're loving me to death. And so many families start off thinking that they're helping, but they end up enabling. And so, like, if let's say I break my leg, or I'm sick, and you come over and you clean my house for me, right? You're helping. That's cool. But if I'm drunk and you're paying my bills and you're cleaning my house, you're enabling me. You're hurting me. You're robbing me of the opportunity of that desperation. And when I got desperate enough, I got on my knees. I mean, at some point, everybody's say they don't believe in God, but when you're under fire,
right,
you'll try anything, man. And I got to a place of surrender, and I said, I'm willing to try anything. And some people need to get to that. They need more pain. I tell them I can't work harder than you, But I guarantee you this, when you get here, I will work as hard as you. You may need more time. You may need more what I call research. I call all that using and running and gunning my research phase, because now I use that as data for good.
Right.
But as far as some people, depending, you keep relapsing and say, oh, I can do it on my own. You're talking about UFOs and Bigfoot in my world.
Right. Well, Trump just came out, man. Aliens do exist, apparently. So,
I'm so excited.
You can't use that one anymore.
I'm so excited.
It's going to blow up religion as we know it. Like, hey, listen, by the way, we do have these green people. We call them grays. So you got.
I'm so excited.
So
I don't think that we'll get much. It's because most of the companies are privatized. But I kind of feel like it's another distraction. But hey, I do love aliens, dude. Like I went to Egypt. I went to I've been on UFO hunts. So I love that stuff. It's better than politics.
It's much better than politics. Trust me.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's something I want to. We'll close with this. I don't know if you remember this, but I've always thought we became close over the last few years. We grew up together. But a long time ago, you reached out to me, and you apologized to me about something. I don't remember if you remember. Do you remember that?
I do.
I got a random message from you, and I don't remember what it was you were apologizing to me for. And I still don't remember what it was, but you remembered what it was. And I'm shocked because I have a memory, I like it's still trapped, so I don't really forget much. But I thought about that. I've thought about you ever since that day. And I was guessing that's probably maybe part of a step that you had whatever step that was, amends. So I just want you to know that if somebody that's known you, for almost 40 years, that was something I've never forgot about that, and I've talked about it several times to a lot of people. So I appreciate that, and I don't remember you doing anything, but
that's good.
There was one of those days that
That's good.
I don't. Do you remember what it was?
I remember when I reached out. Basically, I was jealous of you too. I remember when you were at the this convention thing or the city hall, and you were up there. It was you and Elliot, David, Netsley.
Oh yeah, Triple E and the Space Coast Boys. Yeah, we're doing a little boy band stuff.
Yeah, and you were up there dancing and singing. I was like, I'm gonna kill this guy, right? This guy can do stuff I can't do, right? And then you were friends with Matt, and Matt and I had a couple headbutts. We were kids, dude.
Right? Yeah.
And so when I got into recovery, the 9th step is about making amends. And so I the 4th step, you have to go down and write down all these people that you damaged. And so I went back all the way back to where I was such a creep. Like I was a creep to you. I had no reason. You had everything. Like no reason. One of the coolest kids out there. And because of my ego,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I was jealous. And I could have learned a lot. And it's like, dude, I wasted time. And then so when we reached out and became friends, I had written that down on my 4th step, and your name was on there. There was a lot of people. So in the 9th step, you just reach out and you make peace. You're like, hey man, and most people don't want to say sorry or hear sorry. They just don't want you to do it again. But also it was so liberating for me because I can go back and make peace and say, hey, Eric, dude, it wasn't you, it was me. Right. And so if you don't remember, that's even better. But that's part of the process of recovery, and it's so liberating, and it frees me so much. But I remember in the gym, you were with Schreiber, and we were at Delora, and Schreiber was sticking up for you for something.
Right.
I had done something to you. And you remember Matt at the time, he was benching 200 and something pounds.
I know, he could just sit up there and put up 200 pounds any day, twice on Sunday. I mean, it was crazy. He was just built.
And we were in 8th grade.
Yeah, he had crazy strength. Yeah.
7th grade, and he had that chest. And I was up in the stands. I was sweating with Garen and maybe Josh. I don't know if Josh was up there or not. Josh Wood.
Right.
And I know Garen was up there. I remember. And so I had to like stick up. I was like, no. And I remember Schreiber was like, I'll work you. But it was something I had done to you.
Right. Yeah. We were never thick as thieves, him and I back then. I miss him a lot too. And he got sucked into that. I don't know who, he had a really addictive personality. He was like a chain smoker, and, and he came out of the Marine Corps after 8 years, and worked for the post office for a little while, and then kind of became a contractor for a little while. And then just for some reason, with 36 years old, he had a roommate, and he decided, hey man, let's let's do a little of this. And they snort a little something, and a guy that's addicted to cigarettes, chain smokes, probably shouldn't be doing any hard drugs. And that was it. No. That was it for him. And I was shocked when I found out he did it, because I mean we were clean as little angels back in the day. We had a couple beers back in the day, but nothing like that. So someone that I've known most of my whole life, and to him get to that point.
How old was he? 36.
He was 36 when he started. And he opened up to me a lot. I went and got him into the VA and got him into the VA facility, and he was able. I don't know if you remember too much about this area, but with Cocoa, where the VA rehab kind of homeless place is at. It was like apartment complexes, right? And it's right there on Fisk, and on 520 and Fisk, where you walk out of the condo and the apartment complex, and you get anything you want there, just 20 feet. Hookers, whatever you want, right there.
I actually know what you mean.
Yeah, so he was. He was like, Eric, man. He goes, I get it. As you walk out of the door, this is a terrible place. It's a terrible place to put it for guys that are recovering addicts. So, unfortunately for him, it just didn't work out for him, and it took his life. About like 10 months after our 20th reunion, and it's one thing and I have to say this before we go, that parents that separate themselves from their children and their adult children whenever they get onto the stuff, and they cut them off. And I look at his parents once in a while. I go see him every few years. I'll stop by, and as jacked up as he got and bad things that he did, they would do anything to bring him back. They would do anything. So, I try to tell people, if you have somebody that has addiction, don't write them off. I know it sucks. They've stolen from you. They've done all this, but down the road when that person is no longer here, and it owns two ways. You either get clean or you don't make it. That's from what my experience. You experience that a lot yourself. People either get clean or you die. And there's no old drug addicts walking around the streets at 85 years old, still doing heroin. So I tell people, look, don't give up on them, because if they're not here, you're gonna wish you did more to get them there, to be in your life.
When I became an interventionist, I teach people about healthy boundaries, and you're either loving them to recovery or you're loving them to death.
Okay.
And so many families, I don't believe in tough love, because everyone's like, oh, just cut them off. Well, if that worked, jail would be the most successful rehab. That tough love stuff isn't there. You've got to understand the mind of an addict, and you've got to know how to love them into recovery. Now, that doesn't mean enable them, but it also means healthy boundaries. You've got to have some healthy boundaries. And so, but if you understand the manipulations and you can no longer manipulate me, and I have some healthy boundaries, and I'm not enabling you, now I'm changing the variables that are allowing you and the part I'm playing to love you to death. Now I can love you to recovery. That's your best chance. And so that's why when I tell families, I said, if you haven't done an intervention is an insurance policy. It's for you. It's so you can get your life back, because play the tape forward in 6 months. Could your son die? Yes.
Right.
If he dies, you can say you did everything you could. You educated yourself on the operating basis of addiction, and you did everything you could, because so many families are just like, oh, just stop. They don't understand the operating base of addiction. So if any families are out there, educate yourselves, do an intervention. Tough love does not work. It does not work.
So the intervention, you would think, as a family that's having somebody going through this, is it the final steps that you could say, okay, we did everything we could at this point to save our son or daughter or whoever, and that then you can I guess maybe you can I guess you're always going to probably have some guilt, but maybe you can have a little less guilt, realizing, listen, we did everything we could. We had intervention, we talked to him, let him know how much we love him or whatever it is, and then kind of a point where that person needs to make that decision whether they're going to get better or just blow off their family for the rest of their life. I guess that's kind of where it comes down to.
Well, I teach the families that you have to basically say, we write the letter, we write a bottom lines letter, and it says, Eric, I'm not abandoning you. You're my brother, you're my friend, I love you. I'm accepting your decision to choose your lifestyle over me. It kills me. I'm losing my brother. Now, if you want to get better, here's the lifeline, right? Once you're in treatment, I will be there and I will help support you. but I can't watch you do this anymore, dude, because it's killing me. So it's your decision, not mine, right? And so when families do interventions, I tell them that I can't guarantee you. People, oh, Ben, what are you going to do? How are you going to fix him? We've done everything. I can't guarantee you he's going to get better. What I can guarantee you is this: if something bad does happen, which is already happening,
Right.
you say you've done everything, but you haven't done this one thing, you can have your life back. And you can say, I did everything I could. That's the only guarantee I can give you through the intervention. That's it. I build a team that works together that's based in love, but they are now educated and they are empowered because they understand the mind of an addict. How is a mind of an addict running wild through your family? They can't do it at work. They can't do it at the military. They can't do it at court, but they can do it to you. They're using your emotions against you. That's limited. That's not a strength. So how can we change the universe? How can we change those variables to increase their willingness? And sometimes it's giving them the gift of desperation. I needed those consequences, but you know what? If you're my brother and you're paying on my bills, you're robbing me of those consequences.
Okay.
You're supporting me. You're making my lifestyle of drugs and alcohol more comfortable. Now you think that you're helping me, but you're loving me to death. It's a crazy job, then.
I like that. That is what happens. They love them to death. You know, you keep providing for them and giving them money for the food. Yeah. And they go get high with it. Yeah, you are. You're loving them to death. So the last thing, if somebody watches this, and hopefully some people will watch this, if you're an addict and someone's watching this, they happen to catch this last clip, what would you say to somebody who's struggling with addiction right now?
For me, if you're struggling with addiction, I would not do it on my own. I've looked at all the evidence. I tried. I did my research. I had my test group. I had my control group. I used the scientific method. And I said, I will beat the odds. And I couldn't. I absolutely couldn't. And so when I got in, I looked at it like it was cancer. Someone said that to me. What's my highest chance for success rate? Now, if your goal is long-term sobriety, to get your life back, then why would you not get professional help? If your car breaks, are you sick? Oh, I saw something on YouTube. Or do you call a specialist?
Right.
You know, there's nothing wrong with being human. We all have issues. Okay. So people say, oh, what do you do at rehab, Ben? The only thing, we're going to have fun while you're here. And hopefully, you know, the worst thing that might happen is you might get your life back, dude. You know, give it 30 days and see. And if your life was better, then go do that. There is no magic rehab, right? But if you get one thing out of the time while you're there, I always tell everyone to do 30, 60, 90 days. That's ideal, okay? Maybe realistic, you can't, right? But get some sort of treatment plan for 12 months, right? So do 30, 60, 90 days inpatient. If you can do sober living, do that. If you have to go home, do that. But have some sort of structure. They have IOP groups. You know, when I got a couple years ago, I went to an IOP group 2-3 days a week, couple 3 hours. It was right down the street. You can find a program, but get an evidence-based treatment program. If you have cancer, you're going to use an evidence-based treatment plan. But addicts, they think they can do it on their own. And I tell them too, Einstein said you can't solve a problem with the same mind that created it.
Right.
And my favorite one before we go is a doctor who treats himself as a fool as a patient.
That's true.
You know, Dr. Ben, you're fired. I self-diagnosed myself. I self-medicated myself. You know, I'm like Dr. Kevorkian over here.
So Ben, tell us the two programs that you got, that you're in charge of, that you work with. Go ahead, name them. Give us the telephone number so we can, if anybody watching this can actually call if they want to get any help wherever you're at and you're in the California area.
Clear Life Recovery is that's our oldest program. We call it the civilian program. It's for normal people. We have all walks of life in there. I've had CEOs to young guys to old people, anyone. That's for anyone. And then we have the Unified Wellness Center. The Unified Wellness Center is exclusive for first responders and veterans. So the staff is all first responders and veterans. All the clinicians are first responders and veterans. And then all the people that you're in the treatment center with are first responders and veterans. It's completely 100% exclusive. So all programming and all activities are completely 100% exclusive. We keep them separate. The only time that they do see each other, we do have a shared space during the day. It's an outpatient. It's about 5,000 square feet. And there's 3 times that I had to write a report because there were some people that were like, oh, they can't be in the same building. So I had to write a report, do my evidence. And so there's 3 times that they could bump into each other. It's picking up their food, on the way to the bathroom, or smoking cigarettes.
Okay.
So that's it.
Well, Ben, man, listen, I appreciate you joining my conversation. And it's great seeing you again, man. I'm so proud of you that how far you've come over the last, 15, 20 years. That's great. You're a tribute to your family, to the people in your community. And man, God bless you, brother. And I appreciate you joining me today, and hope to see you soon when you come into town. Make sure you look me up.
God bless you. Right back, Eric. It's been a pleasure. And I'll let you know on the dates in Orlando. And thank you.
All right, brother. We'll see you soon.
See you.